Thank you, Martin, for inviting me. So, as Martin already said, I'm here as a member of the Biopharm.si consortium, of which Bereits is a part, for no reasons. And let us take a look at this biopharma technical development, which is basically where I'm coming from. So what technical development really means is that, so as said before, we are producing drugs not by chemical reactions, but by means of biological beings. So the working force in biopharma is usually Chinese hamster ovary cell, the CHO cell, and what we have to do is take one cell line and then engineer it in a way that it would produce the protein, which is our drug. So the first thing is engineering and cloning. Then, of course, we have to find the suitable environment for this cell line, which is done in the upstream process. So we are here optimizing the temperature, the pH, the feeding, and all the stuff. Then, when the product here is harvested, goes down to the downstream, which is basically a very sophisticated filtration and purification of the product. And at the end, it comes down to the finalization, where the product is stored in a buffer, in vials, injected loads, or so on. So when technical development actually takes care of all these steps, once we come down with the optimal process, it gets transferred to the production. So no cloning is done in the production, because you already have at this stage a cell bank, which means frozen vials with the cell line that has been produced here. You just thaw it and then use it in a developed by process, go down to the purification and to finalization, of course, in selling, and then the money comes back and so on. Hopefully. So this is really what's covered by the technical development, and of course the molecule that we are trying to produce is already known here at the start. So it doesn't matter whether we are dealing with original drug, which means still covered by the patent, or the biosimilar drug, which means we are sort of copying the same protein molecule that's been patented and the patent expired. This part is basically always the same, except the requirements for each step are a little bit different. In this term, producing the original drug is much easier in this step, or developing these steps, than biosimilar drug, because you really have to have the molecule that's like the originated product, or you fail. Okay, so what are the big challenges in technical development of biopharma? The first one, which has been widely recognized by FDA and other regulatory systems, is that data integrity. This is very, let's say, painful area, because we still have to have some good development practices, which are, let's say, less strict as the manufacturing practices, which is a very strict set of rules dictated by the regulatory agencies. But still, you have to have a record of what you did, and this record has to be correct. And if you're doing this in a traditional way, which is mostly paper-based, this is very difficult. On the other hand, we do not want to compromise the flexibility that development needs. Because still, although we are very restricted by regulations, of course we still have enough freedom to go around, but it must all be documented. And the third, of course, limitation or challenge is how to transfer these developed processes to the production without any huge difficulties. Now, this is also one of the, let's say, quite difficult steps, you are developing this Y side of such big company, and then you are setting it to the production on the other side of the globe, and this sometimes gives you a lot of headache. Okay, so let's take a look at this Biopharm project that is involved in some of the issues that I've shown here. So one of the biggest problems that this project is tackling is this data management system, and we will see slightly what we have in mind for the future. So what is the project? So the client for this project is really Ministry of Education, Science and Sports of Republic of Slovenia, and it's really this structural funds. So it's basically money coming from Europe. It's a 4-year project, and the project funds are about 8.8 million, which is not a small project. What are they trying to achieve? Of course, trying to do some serious work on patents and innovation. So they are expecting at least 6 patents and 25 innovations. Everything has to be countable. 10% increase of private investment. Of course, you know, company structure in Slovenia is a lot different than in Austria. So a lot of ancient, huge companies either collapsed or they are working with not as high pace as one would expect them. There's also a lot of foreign investment, but it is still mostly used for production and not so much for development. Which means a lot of this money is not really reinvested for the development in Slovenia, so that's why we're trying really to push these activities up. And at least by 2020, design 4 prototypes, let's say, including continuous manufacturing of biologics. So even biologics is going for continuous production, new methods and services for the global markets. And as you can see, so we are trying really to push up this development on the industrial side. So who are the members of this consortium? The coordinator is the Center of Excellence for Biosensors, Instrumentation and Process Control, which has been funded in one of the previous state calls. Then this is Lic Pharmaceuticals, a part of Novartis, Instrumentation and Technologies, Electronic and BIA, which are small and medium companies contributing to this part. And then there's a bunch of, let's say, academic institutions, National Institute of Biology, Faculty of Computer Science, Computer and Information Science, Faculty of Electrical Engineering, National Institute of Chemistry, and Faculty of Chemistry and Chemical Technologies. Plus, we have several subcontractors, as this is a national project. Unfortunately, evon will not be included as a member, but we sort of found a way to cooperate on this as a subcontractor. So, as we already said, the benefits for it all should be quite high. And you see, if we take a look at this process of production, as I said, we need to clone and engineer the cells. So one project is really concentrating on how to figure out which cell lines are stable, which will produce through several years. This is one of the big issues. There's one of the projects that will deal with discontinuous manufacturing, but majority of the projects are really concentrating in the part of gathering the data, which is not very well covered for the biopharma, at least in terms of product quality. So product quality is usually assessed at the end, not in between, which means we are flying blind, without instruments. And the rest of the project are concentrating on collecting this data, modeling and simulation, so at the end we have a very sensible process monitoring throughout the development. The projects, as you see, there are different partners on different projects, but Link is basically a member of all of them, because luckily what we did here is saw what we would do anyway and try to integrate that wishes with the rest of the partners to really have a very focused project. Okay, so now the most important project in terms of data warehousing or data management is this project 5, which has really two things. So it should deliver a data warehouse and intelligent control panel, and with blue are shown the milestones that have already been achieved. And there's the next one coming up, which means that the data warehouse is well on the way, and the control panel that will be on top of this data warehouse hasn't even started yet, but it will be soon. So we are still relatively at the beginning of this project. So what will data warehouse do? So this will be an attempt to collect and align historical and current data that we are producing. But of course, we have to have in mind that this is development, which means the amount of data, what are we collecting, can really change from one project to another. So this is not production, so it has to be a flexible system. And at the end, of course, we will be very happy receiving some help when putting together reports, but this is really, at least for the researchers, the biggest pain, yes. Intelligent control panel, this is the second part of this project. It will monitor the processes that are currently going on, with aim to provide the technicians with information what is currently happening. So whether we should change the set points a little bit, whether we should change how the process runs, let it go as it is. And of course, help will come also from possibility of analyzing historical data on the same panel. So you can just imagine like a huge TV set with several panels, and you just in one panel you are just observing what's currently going on, and you can do several analysis, multivariate analysis, model analysis of that, and then on the other panel you can start doing the analysis of what you already did to figure out whether we already had something similar going on with what we did in that case. And this part will be linked to project 4, which is developing numerical methods for analysis of such multivariate data as we are producing in our projects. And it will use this Orange, which is a freeware software developed by the Faculty of Computer Science. And only a selection of methods, of course, will be then used for this intelligent control panel, because this software will cover whatever we would like, but the control panel will only limit this selection to those that are useful for a technician running the process. So how does it look like right now in terms of data? As you can see, this part, and this part is all under construction. So it's a big construction site. The only thing is running are some islands. So for the upstream, so for the development of processes, the Empower database, but not only database, it is in fact sort of SCADA system which runs all the reactors in there and collects the data. This is in place, so this is one of the shiny things. For the analytics, this is for the analytics. For the upstream, you have Lucullus, but for the analytics, you store everything that's been measured in the Empower database. And the majority of data, of course, is in this part. So it's either paper or Excel, which is a nightmare. And when all this is done, of course, we will quite nicely be able to collect all this data. But this path still stays because we are still assuming that a lot of parts of this, let's say, that are not so automated, that have a lot of manual intervention, will still stay in this form of operation. And this part, of course, will then cover also the downstream process, the drug product development, which is now like completely blank and really is completely covered by this part. So at the end, this Biopharm core database will collect and align data from all the sources that we have. And at the end, it will prepare the data that we have in some standardized relational tables. So we should say, throughout the company, we have this system of data tables, so anybody who wants to get data, this is the structure, get out whatever you want. And what is the beauty of it? We will not really separate historical data from the new data, so the same query that will get you the data for let's say 10 years ago will give you also the current data that is right now being produced. And what we already did is we actually, not really say enforced, but suggested and already finished the data exchange with these two systems because mostly exam control is directed towards collecting data from sensors. But we have a lot of historical data that actually have a timestamp, that have information, but it's already stored in the database. So this was not really envisioned for originally, but as we realized that it can be quite easily adapted, so now we have a very nice both-way communication between these two systems, which will be definitely needed for what we are planning to do. Upcoming things, so as I've already said, we are now facing this functional specification for intelligent control panel. It's still far away. Until then, we are fully focusing on Biopharm core database because it's needed for this specification, it's needed for the development of all data analytical tools, and right now we are at the stage where we are putting all the pieces of puzzle together. Because the idea of developing this is that we started by prototypes. So we had pieces of data and we just put together functions that can input that data and transfer it into this relational database structure. We tried to do the same for the online data. So now we have several pieces of puzzle, and all we have to do is put them together and see how this works. And while we were doing all this research of how this data needs to be structured, what information do we need to really satisfy what technical developments needs for its optimal functioning, we actually came up with a pretty ingenious idea, which actually was developed by Martin, by Evon, and served back to us, and then we realized that this is definitely the way to go in the future, is this. So what you're looking here is, let's say, a standard structure, how you do the manufacturing. So here you have different stages of processing for your product. You have, let's say, automated system SCADA level in this level, and then you have to collect this on the data level. Whatever software you want to take, take your pick. Currently, we are doing this in Biopharm core and envisioning this also MES control. And then on top, of course, you have to have an MES control functionality that takes care of what's going on in your production, And to that, we will somehow attach this Biopharm core, which will just be taking out the data and prepare it in a standardized way. So this is something that will very nicely live in production environment. For the development, of course, each of these steps is highly variable, but we realize that if we do this smartly, we can actually make it quite nicely. So what you have to do is, instead of looking at batches being produced one by one, you start looking at projects of development being produced one by one, and each project will definitely have these phases. Well, some maybe won't, but who cares? Because here at the MES control level, you can say, okay, I'm starting a new project, and I will involve this and this and this phases, and I will have so many experiments, and you have really a basic structure of your technical development. And if we look at these things closely, so even now that we are doing things paper-based, you have a project plan. You cannot actually escape from that. You have to at least envision how many experiments you will do, and how many phases in this experiment, what do you want to cover with these experiments. So all these things actually have to be known in advance. In the next phase, of course, you have to schedule the experiments you want to do. And in this case, you need to do the execution planning. So you have limited people, you have limited equipment, limited time, and you want to do as best as you can. But the good thing is that if in this phase, when you try to schedule, realize something is going wrong, you go back. This is prerequisite if you want to do this for development. Okay, so next, when you're happy with this part, you get to the execution of experiments. Fine, you have to monitor the process, you have to align the data, but during the execution of experiments, something may turn out that you didn't know in advance, so you have to be able to go back, reschedule, or even jump back to do additional planning. Once you are able to jump through all these steps, all that stands between you and the finishing of the project is filing out the reports. But this can actually, with today's technology, be very nicely covered with what we already know. So this part is what I've been showing you is still under construction, but we already have some systems that have local data control. So this part of execution we are already performing. And paper-based is what is done on this part. So in a way, we can really use the paradigm that's used for manufacturing very nicely also for the development. Of course, we have to take into account that we must be able to jump back. So we are running in loops, not going linearly straightforward as you would for production of batches. So what we see is that data integrity issues are still not completely solved. In terms, we have data integrity, but you have to pay for it with your blood almost. Because it's really difficult, to take care of all those papers and records. But since a lot of high throughput methods are coming in faster and faster, this will definitely become obsolete. So now in a few years, the data that is coming out of these development processes is going up rapidly. So paper-based will have to go out, like it or not. And the data alignment that is currently done manually, it just becomes impossible. So that's where coming in industrial MES systems and adapted to what is needed for the development is definitely a way to go, and it will solve actually all of these problems. It's just a question of data space and the speed of your computing. But on the other hand, if you look at how much data is really produced here and compare that, let's say, with CERN in Switzerland, where they're doing particle analysis, this is really nothing. So if they can manage with the data they are generating, this is something that should really be a technical problem. And at the end, I would really like to thank all these systems for our support, because really without their support it would really be difficult, to push forward such an interesting project. And thank you all for